You can run the streets with your thugs. I've been waiting for you. Yeah, start that shit off.
In my trauma, back at it. Hakeem's in a musical mood.
A beautiful day out.
A beautiful day. We took a week off just to get it back in motion.
Mm-hmm. Back like we never left.
Back like we never left. I was thinking about what I want to talk about. I have LaDroit Park lore kind of on the mind. I don't know how it came up, but I started thinking about our neighbor who we won't name, but who, you know what it was? I saw a TikTok of a guy being like, the ninja that I snitched on 3 years ago gets out today, so I have to leave the state. And it was like him with a backpack on in an airport terminal. And for the uninitiated, we grew up with a neighbor who was just kind of a grifter, for lack of a better word, snitching on people, trying to sue insurance companies.
I had to think which neighbor you were picking up for a second, but yeah, grifter is a good word.
Yeah, I think the most egregious though, I thought about him climbing 2 stories up a rotted out wooden ladder and falling those 2 stories and basically permanently shattering his legs.
He was in those walking boots. I can't imagine what he looked like not wearing 2 walking boots. Maybe was that before the age where I would be able to remember, or it shouldn't be, right?
No, I don't think so. Because that was an event. I mean,
I only remember him post incident with 2 walking boots on permanently.
AD, Anno Domini.
AF after the fall.
Yeah, but that's just wild. That's a wild thing for him to do. I also remember the summer that we were taking the metro bus to school, like summer camp. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. It's funny. I've been thinking about your responsibilities as older sibling. I remember one day we were standing at the bus and he rode up in like a very beat up car, like, you know, where y'all headed? We can drive you. And it was really, I can drive you. And it was really on you to be like, we're okay. And I remember him kind of like asking like a few times, being like, you sure? Like, I got you. And you were like, no, we're just going to take the bus.
If I had to guess, he was probably DUI at the time. He probably shouldn't have been behind the wheel.
Driving with 2 boots on his feet.
Yeah,
no
that in itself. Maybe he had the little hand switches. Maybe he had his car modified.
Sure.
But no, he shouldn't have been behind the wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a real character. We had a few characters in the neighborhood back in the day.
A few of them.
Yeah, a few of them.
A few of them still cooking, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I ask about my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Every other time I'm on the phone with mom and dad.
Mm-hmm.
But for you all, she has had her fair share of mental health struggles. However, she perseveres. And I don't know. It's a funny thing the way somebody can like really be a presence in your life, and like she'll never know that.
Yeah.
But I just remember, I'm sure I've told you, one day, like the summer after my senior year of college, I came home and she was sitting on our front steps, like blocking the path.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm not going to tell her to move. Like, she was there before me.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of went to squeeze around her and she was like, how's school going? And I was like, yes, it's fine. She was like,
technically it was her house before it was
that's
our
what
house.
I'm saying. Like, I know the code.
Yeah.
And she was like, you still writing? You still focused on writing? And I was like, you are incredibly coherent.
For how you come off to not be coherent at all.
One day I came out of the house in high school and there was just a blanket on the brick sidewalk with like 2 twisted up shoes, like like Wicked Witch of the West style red slippers. And I just remember Dad going, there can't possibly be a person under there. But lo and behold, it was this neighbor who,
On the topic of Wizard of Oz, we also had a crow from The Wiz as one of our neighbors.
We did.
And he regularly tried to sell me things while I was at the gas station. I had to repeatedly ask him not to approach my car. Are you making me uncomfortable?
There's so much lore in LaDroit Park.
Mm-hmm.
So much history.
A lot of history.
Yeah.
Recent history and old-timey history.
We got everything. And then, the babies are back on campus at Howard. Mom keeps talking about how hard Howard's going to go up when Kamala does her big one.
Mm,
Big Sister General.
I forgot about that.
They're going to be going crazy.
I hope she does her little dance.
I'm just excited for the AKAs to let out their little ski week and it ripple across the National Mall. I think that's going to be a moment for the culture. But yeah, because apparently she's maintained an office on Howard's campus. I didn't know that. So like, in her duties as vice president, she did some major strategy meeting from that office, and I guess it was the same one that Thurgood Marshall used, and he worked on the Brown v. Board of Education case on the campus. There are bright spots, good things happening.
Yeah, definitely.
Things to be hopeful about.
Yeah. Things to be hopeful about, I think is the right way to put it.
Yeah, things to be hopeful about.
Things to be hopeful about.
It's always a mixed bag, but there's signs of hope, signs of life everywhere. I've been seeing a lot of the NBA edits. I saw a girl be like, Anthony Edward edits specifically, I'm getting a lot of now because I engage with them, but a girl said, she was like, I might be biased, but I feel like basketball has the best edits of any sport.
Yeah, I think basketball is the most
like flashy, kind of.
I was thinking about the right way to put it, but to me, it's the most like appealing to the eye to watch because it allows for the most improvisation. I think.
Yeah.
And it's like, I feel like soccer is like that in some ways, hockey is like that in some ways, but there's not really like, you don't have to call plays. Like you could just come down and just feel it out every single time. And I feel like at really high level, they are doing that to a certain extent.
I took a Black athlete and American literature class in college, and it made me think about sports in ways that I hadn't really before. But I think we read a whole book on the cultural significance of basketball. But there's also something to how visible basketball players are. Like,
because their faces aren't covered.
Their faces aren't covered. There's no padding, and also just proximity to the crowd. Like they're literally close to you.
You can hear them talking.
You can hear them talking. Yeah. Like the jumping. It's like it's a personal sport, and I think that lends itself to to good highlights and people wanting to observe it. Because I think about
I agree. I also think it's basketball too is like. I only understand it when I watch people who've never played basketball play basketball. It's like the movements aren't as natural to us because we play forever. But the people who don't play basketball, like the idea of like moving that fast while dribbling a ball and then stop, spin, jump backwards, shoot the ball over somebody, like that's not a normal thing that I would think the average person can do really in their day to day.
And like I think I'm pretty sure you said like the improvisation that's inherent to basketball, because I watch like a fair amount now of the Team USA team talking about their experience. And when Kevin Durant talks about the game versus Serbia and like the last 4 or so minutes, he was like there were no set plays being called, and he was like that is the peak of basketball. Like as a peak basketball player is when you're just like so in flow with other people. And I mean, obviously there's pickup in every sport, but something about how cohesive it can be with people who, like, just your individual knowledge of the game combined is pretty special.
I don't remember if it was a player who said it or a coach, but there's definitely, like, a lot of people who draw the parallel between basketball and jazz. It was just...
And black people doing cool shit.
Right. That, find your pocket and kind of like operate within your pocket while everybody else operates within theirs.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the best sport, in my opinion.
I think that's fair.
In my humble opinion.
Yeah.
It's not the most popular globally, but I think it is the best.
Yeah.
In totality.
Yeah. Because I was thinking about what Serena's husband said about how like people are going to increasingly turn to sports for the like real or the humanity that's lacking in like AI generated storylines.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was just like basketball is like amazing.
Yeah. I think it's funny that you called him Serena's husband.
I think
There
he
was a
calls
lot of
himself
discourse.
that.
There was a lot of discourse during the Olympics about people calling Simone Biles' husband Mr. Simone Biles.
I think they were doing it intentionally.
I think they were.
Because the hole he put himself in with the kind of rhetoric he came out with.
I don't think it was rhetoric. I think he just told a true story and people didn't like it.
Well, but I think that the editorializing he did around it was not to his benefit. To be like, you know me, I always think men are the prize. Like, even if you think he literally said that, I think
shout out to him.
Boo.
Somebody, hey, if Lori Harvey can say it, he can say it. He's at least married.
A boo to that take as well.
Yeah, whatever.
But yeah, I think it's like kind of comical to say that when your wife is like one of the 10 greatest athletes ever. You sound a little bit funny saying that, but you know, to each his own. They're married, so she's fine with it.
Doesn't care.
Yeah, she's fine with it. If you like it, I love it. That's
Yeah.
my philosophy.
Yeah.
But yeah, capitalism, we gotta disrupt it, cause yeah.
Can we say in one fell swoop we got to disrupt black capitalism and
be pursuing wealth
and be so supportive of Kamala?
Oh, be so supportive of Kamala. You know, life is complicated.
There's complicated.
There's nuance everywhere. I mean, the whole Kamala thing in and of itself is it's complicated.
It is.
Because I was seeing even highlights.
Is she even black?
My favorite is that in my specific corner of TikTok, people would see photos of her in her time at Howard and be like, why was she a hot stud? Like
she was rocking the
she looked like
the haircut was
she looked like a very attractive masked lesbian, and I am about to buy the mug for $22 as soon as it gets back in stock.
That is the only picture of her that comes up when you search young Kamala. It's her college photo.
And she looks
and
good
I know
as
this
hell.
because I looked it up recently.
You were like, I can't do anything with this.
I was like, I didn't say that.
Fair enough. I was talking to Mom about when you're not around, I say you date like a lesbian. I think more.
What does that mean?
I think.
What is that about? I do the opposite of that. I'm not
Well,
with
I will
anybody.
say at least twice you've texted me within like a couple weeks of meeting somebody or hanging out and been like, I think I've met the one, which is very lesbian coded. And you've dated. I felt that was my Kamala laugh just then. That was a good laugh. But on top of that, I think it's the one girl that the one bi girl that you literally dated like a lesbian, where y'all were just like in a committed relationship.
We were not in a committed relationship.
You spent like 72 hours together, and then
Since when does that equate?
I mean, if I'm spending all my time with you, we're not.
That's not all of my time. That's 3 days over the course of my life.
Listen, don't. You're sounding defensive.
You're trying to project. You're trying to project
defensive.
on me.
That was I've never done that, so I don't know how I can be projecting, and you're moving in such a way that I never have. I feel like, yeah, I don't say it that loud because I think it's a slippery slope comparing straight men to lesbians. But I'm just saying, if the evidence was laid out in front of you, I don't know how well you would handle the allegations.
I think it's a false allegation,
and maybe that's why bi women like you so much.
No, that was a phase. I've moved forward.
Roll the tapes. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, you know.
Right.
Everyone,
it is what it is.
Yeah, everyone deserves to be a little lesbian sometimes. We all need a lesbian era. It's good. It's good for character development.
No.
But yeah,
I usually come back to my senses though. in a matter of
lesbians do too.
I'm not moving in with anybody.
Yeah, this is true. Sometimes lesbians don't. I've never moved in with anybody. That just feels ridiculous.
I don't drive a Subaru.
I don't. Hakeem came to me and was like, "Lesbians drive Subarus," with a smirk on his face, and I had to make the distinction that black lesbian and white lesbian are so different. Although maybe they're starting to blend together. Shout out to JoJo Siwa and her black girlfriend.
What does Billie Eilish count as? Which group do we put her
in? That's a hard one. I saw somebody say she dresses like a Saint Lunatic.
She does. That's whoever said that was very daft.
I think that it's a whole conversation. I actually saw a white guy be like, why is it that white gay people, when they are, coming into themselves as white gay people, they just act as the black version of the opposite gender? And so, she's clearly a white queer woman.
Maybe they were all watching Def Comedy Jam at some point.
Maybe.
Maybe that's what.
Maybe.
Def Comedy Jam came on after RuPaul Drag Race on some channel.
Oh my gosh. Not that. But yeah, so that's what she's working with. I saw my first girlfriend earlier today. We hung out.
Okay. How was that?
It was cool. It was cool to end on a positive.
That's nice.
We did not end on a positive to start.
Do you feel like the ending on a positive was worth it? I have this discussion with my friend all the time where he seems to feel that it's good to just get that air of closure, where I'm just more like, it doesn't really matter to me. We don't need to do this.
Yeah. I mean, it didn't take anything from me to just like get coffee. I was like not doing anything anyway. So yeah. I think it would be one thing if I was like sacrificing something, but I was just like, ultimately, I'm kind of over the thing. I'm over the things that were said at the end that weren't that nice. And so I'm like,
you said some not nice things?
No. Yeah.
You didn't get a few jabs in?
I mean, unintentionally. That's kind of always how it happens towards the end, where I'll say something that I think is just me saying something, and then it turns out that like people don't like what I've said. I told her to listen to the pod, so if you catch this,
that's crazy work.
What's up?
That's crazy work.
I mean, this is it's all material. Listen, it's all material. But yeah, I think it feels good to not. I don't know. I think closure is a myth. I had that conversation like years ago. Because ultimately,
I think only true closure comes from blocking someone on all platforms so they can't contact you in any way.
Yeah, I'm just like, I think honestly, airing of grievances, Hakeem and I did in like June 2020, where we just like got some shit off our chest. But I feel like, because in that experience, I had people from high school reaching out being like, I'm sorry I said something racist like 8 years ago. Like, I really want you to know that's not who I am. And like, honestly, it doesn't matter to me at all. Like, it's cool if you've grown. It's honestly fine if you haven't. Like, it doesn't take any skin off my back.
Yeah.
But I feel that way kind of generally about the idea of closure, because it's like ultimately we're not in each other's lives. Like, you're just living regardless. But I mean, as far as like if we had a personal relationship, like, yeah, it's funny. I brought up too, I was talking to one of my friends, and she is from like the Chicago area, and her mom was married before her mom was married to her dad. And she said when she was a teenager, one time they were like walking through downtown Chicago, and her mom like tapped her on the shoulder and was like, "That's my ex-husband." And they'd like just walked by him, like didn't say anything.
Yeah, as it should be.
But I heard that. I mean, maybe. I mean, they don't. They're not married anymore. But I was just like, that's like a song. Like, you at one point in your life you were prepared to spend your life with this person, and now you see them in the street with your teenage daughter, and it's just like another bitch.
Yeah, he's
just another bitch. which which is, that's life.
That really is life.
So, I mean, I think, depending on the person, either way is fine. But if there's an opportunity there where it would be one thing if I still had a bunch of feelings attached to it, but I don't. So
I do think at some point I'll delete all my social media just so I don't have to ever see any of these people again.
That's fair. I mean, I think about that. That's kind of the thing I feel like a lot of people are always contesting with. Like, do I just try to delete my digital footprint? It's like Ron, what's his name? Ron on Parks and Rec.
Swanson.
Ron Swanson. Like, I think he got like a birthday mailer for like a free scoop of ice cream. He was like, how do they know my birthday? And then he like spent the whole episode trying to erase any public record of himself.
Yeah.
Aside from like, things that were confidential. And then ultimately was like, I can't beat it. But
yeah. We're too tapped in at this point.
Yeah.
Did you see the leak of the alleged leak of everyone's social security numbers?
Oh, that's crazy. I did not see that.
They were saying somebody hacked whatever database for the government houses that information, and they said that there was potentially everybody's, like every U.S. citizen's social security number may have been compromised. But I keep my credit frozen, so
I do too.
I wasn't really too concerned.
One of my best friends was living in New York, and I visited her to get this tattoo. And I woke up one day, and I guess she'd already left. And when she came back, I was like, yeah, because, she was living on the Lower East Side. So it's like, streets. I mean, I think this is the case all over New York, but you can see into people's windows across the way. And I was like, yeah, I saw one of your neighbors naked. And she was like, yeah, that's just living in New York. She was like, if you're not seeing somebody naked, maybe they saw you naked. Like, it's just seeing people sleeping together. Maybe they see you. And I feel like
New York is just one giant federal prison. And for whatever reason, people haven't figured this out.
Hot take.
People haven't figured it out yet. But
I think that might be the clip. New York is just one giant federal prison.
It is. What other place do you know where people just live that close to each other and think nothing of it?
Far better food. Come on now. Far better food. You can go see a Broadway show.
If the food costs as much as it does, it's effectively like you're working for commissary.
Jeez Louise. You know what? Shout out to New York. Y'all got culture.
Shout out to the people of New York. The place
The
sucks.
people of New York. Yeah. I agree. People aren't meant to live like that.
That's what I'm saying. Living like lab rats.
Yeah. Amongst literal rats.
Yeah.
I was talking, because the party I went to last night was like celebrating 5 years in LA.
Mm.
And so I was bringing up that, a lot of people are making that cross-country move at our age. And when I was talking to a friend about it, he was like, yeah, because at this point you're like 5 years out of college and you've experienced either LA or New York, and you're like, can I do this for the rest of my life? And so like you at least kind of want, if you're not committed, then like a lot of people want to try the opposite. Mm. And I was like, it's an interesting idea.
People got to be a little more creative with their destinations.
I'm saying, I think because the industry that I'd like to be in is specific to here, it was never much of a question. Mm-hmm. But I will say, I feel fortunate that I could never have convinced myself that I'm a New York person. Like, it's not in me.
No.
So I never like needed the experiment, which I think spared me a lot of issues, because like being there and not liking it just seems like a special kind of terror.
I've just met so many people who are like, I have to have my New York era at some point, and I've just never felt that compulsion. I
think it's because, what is that, sadomasochism?
I start to feel physically ill after about 46 hours in New York.
A lot of people like love to suffer.
They do.
And they feel like that is...
they do it for the vibes. Suffer for the
vibes.
vibes.
For the vibes, for the story, and they feel like it's necessary. Like, I think a lot of people equate grind with process.
Do you think that if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere is true?
I
don't think it is. I think that's why so many of them don't leave.
Well, I mean, maybe if you're thriving, I think a lot of those people are surviving. So, like, I don't know what constitutes making it, because if the vast majority of people are surviving and it's like terrible, but you have these little bright spots, like I don't know, yeah, like I'm sure you could survive in other places, but like you know, I do think
and that's not to say that I think LA is a perfect place. There's a lot of fuckery out here.
No, there really is. But I love the home that I've made here. I think it's a good city. Mm-hmm. Yeah, New York is interesting. There's a book called Tomorrow. I think it's called Tomorrow and Tomorrow. It's 3 tomorrows. But the main character, his mom, he has a single mom. He's from Koreatown, but his mom grew up in Koreatown, then moves to New York and raises him there until she's like 13. She's the aspiring actress. Mm-hmm. And there's a point in the book where, like, it's spoiler alert, but it's the pivotal part of the story that kind of gets them back to LA, because a lot of it takes place in LA, where they witness a woman offing herself. She like jumps off a building, and they like rush to help her. He's 13. His mom's an adult. His mom bends down and like is talking this woman basically through the end of her life, and finds out that the woman has her same name. And she's like, "Why'd you do it?" And she was like, I wouldn't have been able to leave otherwise. Which is dark, but I think that it's morbid for sure. But in what I hear about the way that people are grinding themselves down in New York, maybe specific, like I think there are
Would you have done what that woman did in this situation? Are you walking towards the problem or running away from it?
If I'm the only
I'm running away.
Good Samaritan. Oh my God, that's why you're a Jerry. That is exactly. There's an ongoing conversation about Hakeem being very much a Jerry. Seinfeld, that is, within the show Seinfeld. But yeah, that's literally the Good Samaritan episode where like you see something terrible happen and you're just like, well, I've
helped with certain levels of bad things, but there's also a level where it's like
I'm not equipped myself.
For this.
Yeah,
I can't do it.
I think as somebody, and nobody's in the street but me, she also told her son like go get help. So she was like, go into that store and tell them to call 911. I think at that point I'm already traumatized. I saw it happen. So I think I have to.
I think you're overestimating that or underestimating.
Yeah, underestimating it. Not the same, but
if I'm at a distance and I see somebody jump,
it's the type of shit you watch from a distance.
I have to say, if I'm at a distance, I see somebody jump, and I can kind of gauge, all right, that was probably high enough that might have been a fatal jump. I'm not moving towards it.
You're turning around and walking another way. Not exactly the same, but I did have to put down a dog that wasn't mine earlier this year. And
in my trauma,
and I do think that kind of, because I did take on a level of responsibility that like wasn't really mine. Mm-hmm. And
just so it's clear, Yana didn't old yeller the dog. She had to call a vet to come.
I didn't take it out to the pasture and put it out of its misery.
In case that's what you all thought.
I humanely ushered it into the afterlife. Mm-hmm. But I am thinking about all the steps that I took in that situation. Mm-hmm. And if I offered that to a dog, which I love dogs, they're innocent and amazing.
You gotta imagine you do it for a human.
I have to imagine that I would try my best for a human.
Yeah, that's fair. I also don't know that I don't know that I would put myself or be in the situation. Not to say you put yourself in the situation, but I think just knowing myself, if somebody asked me, hey, there's this elderly dog, will you watch it? I'd be like, get somebody else to do it. Get somebody else to do that.
You have to make all factors equal. You have to have my same income. You have to you have to be looking at the money that you're standing to turn down. Yeah. All things considered.
I'm not the friend to ask for things.
I know that. I've been having to explain that to people, and I always preface it with, I love Hakeem so much, but they are so misguided and who they think you are. I had a friend last night tell me that she could see you buying mom and dad a house in the next 8 years, and I was like, you don't know him.
They have a house. Why would I buy them a house?
Exactly.
have a great house. They have 2 houses. What the hell do I look like buying them a house?
Which is what I was having to. I'm just like, he's not that guy. Like, you guys want him to be a guy, and he's a beautiful person. I love my brother. He's just not that guy.
I'm not that guy. I'll be the first to tell you I'm not that guy.
But a lot of people are have the record twisted.
Yeah, no. I'm not the friend to ask for things. You can ask me for minor things. You need some sugar. You need like a ride to the airport and you don't live that far from me. I could probably help you out with that.
And you still might be in a huff. You still might be like, I gotta get home to get on a you might get on the freeway and be like, there's too much traffic, I'm turning around.
I won't help you move. I will absolutely not help you move anything of any variety. I probably won't help you put furniture together.
This is a wild segment in the podcast. You just, unprovoked, just start naming things you won't do. Oh, geez.
Yeah.
I think, like, I feel I'm really reasonable in, like, my expectations as far as relationships are concerned. Because I basically, I don't think I would do things that I don't expect of you. Exactly. So, like, I'm not a huge birthday person, so I'm really not trying to do a bunch for anybody's birthday.
I agree. That's why I'm not the friend to ask for things. Because I'm not really, outside of every once in a while, I ask somebody to watch Fats. I'm really not asking people
except for...
But that's different. We're family.
I remember... This is within the last year. I was just kind of frustrated in life generally, and I was like, I can't wait till Hakeem gets a girlfriend so I can stop doing all this bullshit.
What things am I asking you to do that often?
Within like a month and a half, you asked me, and this is not an exaggeration, like 6 times to come over and let Fats out, which is not crazy.
Fair enough. I'll wear that one. I'll wear that one.
It's like...
I'll wear that one.
If we were friends and you were calling me, you didn't reach out at all, except for every other week to be like, hey, can you do me a favor? We'd have issues as friends. But it's okay.
Hey.
We're okay.
Hey, this is why when you lock yourself out, who's there in 15 minutes?
Don't get me started, because I literally brought that up last night. For the camera, I gave Hakeem a spare key 4 years ago, and I should have known. He lost it. I locked myself out.
I don't know that I lost it. It might just be somewhere.
He lives in a 1-story house, and I called him being like, hey, I locked myself out. He was like, yeah, you're going to need to call the locksmith. Comes over. He's like, yeah, I can come over, and you can sit in my car with me, which I was just like, who's that going to help?
Well, you seemed like you needed some help. You seemed real confused
that gonna
as
help?
to what your next step should be.
But let me get through it. So he gets here. Calls the locksmith. We're upstairs on my doorstep. The locksmith is doing what he's doing. Hakeem goes, and just to confirm it was X amount of dollars. I turned to Hakeem and I was like, oh, are you gonna help me? He says no. Deadpan, no. I was just making sure you knew the right number.
First of all, I'm trying to help you out to make sure this man actually said the number that he said before. Why would I be paying to let you back into your house?
You lost the key!
Oh my goodness. You know how many times I've locked myself out of my house and had to call the locksmith?
Did I have a spare key that you didn't have access to?
Maybe.
That's just untrue. That's untrue.
Hey.
But water under the bridge. Keep moving forward. Never backwards. It is what it is. But we're doing good. We're all who we are, and things are going well. I was talking last night. Last night I was talking to my friend about I'm 27. For anybody who doesn't know, I'm 27, and we were just like, yeah, it's a funny place to be in life, because I'm also not, my friends are very smart and very talented. I'm not a big pocket watcher, but I don't think anybody could like retire right now or could retire within we're doing the thing, trying to make it happen. Mm-hmm. But my friend was like, it's an interesting space to be where like we are firmly adults, but nobody like of our social circle, it's not like anybody is so well off that it feels like mm-hmm. the idea we had of adults when we were like 13. And I was like, Mom has said to me, she like always giggles when she says it, but she's like, it's so funny to me that you and your friends are 27. Like, you just don't seem that to me.
Yeah, she said that to me one day, and I couldn't tell if she was trying to do reverse psychology to get me to settle down and have some children, but
I doubt it.
It didn't work.
That doesn't sound like her.
She basically said, yeah, it's just so nice that you don't have kids, because the way you live your life, you wouldn't be able to right now. And I was like, is this a dig, or is this, what are you saying here?
A backhanded compliment.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I have a nice life. What are you trying to say to me?
She said, love your life. She said that to me unironically like last week. And love your life. Mm. And I was like, period.
I'm just going to hit you with live, laugh, love soon.
Yeah, exactly. She's so funny. I was telling her about how she really assumes the best of people. It's just like post
since when?
Well, I'm saying post going back to school for psychology okay. And like being deep in her therapist bag. She's just like, yeah, everybody's just trying their best, and like so I was telling her about J-Lo's generational crash out, and I brought up that like Mom watched a doc.
She just donated money to Palestine. We can't speak ill of her for at least one more month.
But I haven't seen it from a reputable source. Is the thing.
Oh, those weren't reputable sources?
I don't think so. I could check after this, and I'll add a note if I'm wrong. Okay. But I remember I saw that, and
Free
then
Palestine.
Like Free Palestine, and then I saw a comment from Celebrities for Palestine, the Instagram page, being like, I haven't seen this from any reputable source. Like, could you give your could you cite your sources? And the person just didn't respond. I've like seen it on social media, and like, right, it's a good tactic. It's a great tactic even. But but I was saying to Mom, because she watched the Jennifer Lopez documentary and like called me on the phone, and she was just like, she's so inspiring. She's such a good person. Like, you should watch that. And I'm like, I think a lot of signs point to her not being that great. Like, people are complicated. But like she's really coming off as like not a great person. But it's like any celebrity puts out propaganda of themselves, and Mom's is like very easily swayed.
Yeah. You gotta propagandize yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
But like in a healthy way.
That's all this is for me.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just here for the color commentary.
New York is a giant federal prison. Oh, jeez. But yeah, everyone's trying their best.
Mm-hmm. Some people aren't, though.
That's usually the response I get.
I met someone recently, and she was talking to a group of us, but like asked us our opinion on something. She was like, "So I just got out of my job. I'm trying to figure out like my next move. Like, what do you recommend for me?" And I was like, well, I don't really know anything about you to really recommend anything. So like, what do you mean? And she was like, well, like, what would you do in my position? I was like, well, first,
why would she not ask somebody in her field? Or just ask somebody in your field, not just like strangers.
It's not even that serious. She needs to get a job. She seemed a little lost, and it seemed like somebody needed to tell her.
And the next thing, Hakeem's telling her to join the army.
There's always work at the post office.
Yeah, like 2 weeks out, Hakeem's like, honestly, you should just go overseas.
Yeah.
Join the armed forces.
No, I think she didn't seem to be doing her best, in my opinion. Some people do need to just be told, go get a job. Not everybody.
How did we start at everybody? So that, in your opinion, that's her not trying her best?
Yes. If you are telling me that you are living in Los Angeles on somebody else's money
I feel
and
like
sitting around asking people what you should do as your next move. Get a job.
Are you fighting the unk allegation? Like,
no, I'm
you're
unk.
definitely.
I'm
unk.
big unk.
Yeah, you're unk
Big
for
time.
sure. That's so unk coded.
I leaned into my baldness.
Go get a job is crazy.
It's not that crazy.
I also have to say that's so in line with. I was laughing on the phone with Mom talking about. Full disclosure, I was having a time in my own head. I was going through some things. Mashallah, we made it out the other side. But I was telling Mom about how like you basically ignored it for 2 weeks until you like couldn't anymore, and then on like the tail.
I wasn't ignoring it. I just didn't realize that's how you were
not engaging with it, and then on the tail end of a phone call, Hakeem just starts speaking to me in platitudes, like, like, yep, you take one step, God will take two. Like, after 2 weeks, it was literally the meme where somebody, I don't know if it's Keeping Up with the Kardashians, but somebody's like, I'm literally giving hints that I want to leave, and then it's like an insert shot of them being like, I want to leave.
Yana, it's in my trauma. It speaks to our two separate upbringings.
No, that's what Mom said. No, literally, Mom was like, no, that's just that's his inner child. Like, that's when he had to. So that's what got me on the full circle. That's what got me thinking about the responsibilities of being an older sibling. Because she was just like, yeah, he felt really responsible for you for like 10 years. So he's just like, he gets triggered. And I was just like,
I wasn't even triggered. It's just, no, let me explain it. You and to this point, right? You have regular conversations with Mom where you're like, this is how I feel in my career. This is how this makes me feel day to day. The reaction I got at the end of college as I was applying to jobs was, if you don't have a job by spring break, you don't have a home here anymore. So,
she said, get a job. Exactly. That's where you get it.
So that's why I'm saying, we talk about how similar me and her are. But yeah, that's why. Because nobody was ever telling me, oh yeah, it's okay if you don't have a job and they're just figuring things out.
Yeah.
It was, you need to get a fucking job or you aren't welcome here anymore.
To clean it up, we do have to insert that she 180.
She equipped me very well to be able to get a job. So
and within the last
the right thing. I'm not saying she did anything
and
wrong.
within the last 5 years, she has switched it too. She's not constantly, but on several occasions, she's been like, yeah, you can always come back here. And you're like, I'm not doing that. So,
Talking about me or you?
You.
Why would I come back? I have a house.
I'm saying before this, before the house,
okay.
when, things happen, things go up and down.
Fair enough.
But she has, people grow and change and yada, yada, yada.
I'm happy she was like that at the time she was. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't be here right now. We can't. What is it? Thinking about the past gives you depression. Thinking about the future gives you anxiety.
Come on, being present.
I'm right here.
Come on, mindfulness.
I'm right here.
Be where your
sure.
Be where your feet are.
I used to pray for times like this. I used to pray for times like this.
Right.
Yeah. So it's all good.
It all works out.
I've made my peace with it.
It all works out. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I think that's so real, and like I'm fascinated by people who, barring, the extremes, but people who look back on the circumstances that got them to where they are, if they're happy with where they are, and then they still like harbor stop being so, get all the hate out, like it's too much.
Yeah. There's no way to live.
It's no way to live.
It's no way to live. She was doing the right thing. In her mind, it was the right thing.
Love thy hater.
Exactly.
They
make us greater.
She was your hater.
She was my first hater.
for 22 years, and now look at how beautiful your relationship is. Mashallah.
Shout out to you. I love you, Mom.
Yeah. Doing the best. Maybe that's what we end on. One of my favorite quotes of all time comes from a drunk Mariah Carey on stage in Las Vegas, saying, "I'm gonna do the best I can with what I got," before the DJ drops "All About the Benjamins."
If I can't do the best I can with what I got, I'm gonna finesse somebody out of something and do better.
What's the Freeway line? if my kid's hungry, snatch the dishes out your kitchen, like one way or another, legally or illegally.
Legally or illegally.
we gonna make it happen.
Yeah.
In my trauma episode 6.
Episode infinity.
Right,
Never stop.